Andy, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Hey, no problem. It's good to talk to humans, even if it's through a screen.
Yes.
It's just like more people. Yay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Zoom's been kind of a lifeline in these quarantine days.
Oh, what would we have done 20 years ago, honestly? Like, I wouldn't have spoken to most of my family for like most of a year, and that'd be terrible. So yeah, it's kind of cool that it's happened at a time when we can still talk to each other, and that we have video and the internet, really.
Yeah, I don't even remember what technology was like 20 years ago. Was it carrier pigeons? Like, what would we have been? I don't even know.
20 years ago, it was MSN, baby. MSN Messenger.
God, I think we're what people call elder millennials because we remember this kind of stuff.
I am a millennial.
Yeah.
It's true. My brother's like 10 years older than me, and he's like, "You're not a millennial. You can't be. And I'm like, I actually am.
Yeah, absolutely.
The huge definition of it, which I'm really grateful for, actually, is that I grew up without the internet. And then the internet became a thing hugely when I just started uni at 18. Because before then the internet was just not comparable like to today. In that I didn't even have broadband for my first year of university.
Yeah.
Because it didn't work. I was in halls of residence and it didn't work well enough to get it. You know, a couple of people got it and they went, "It's literally not worth it."
Yeah. No, absolutely.
My mum didn't get it until like 5 years after I'd graduated. Do you know what I mean? And for the last 10 years, you can't imagine anyone not having broadband and having all this. And if they're not, they're just you just like you're trying to get them onto it. And I think the last year's certainly got people that might not have gone for it have gone for it. And I think it's changed a lot of working lives. For sure, hasn't it?
Yeah, just being able to work from home has definitely been amazing. For
I know everybody, welcome to my club. Yeah. I've been working from home for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. What was it that first got you to pick up guitar? What was the first song you learned?
My older brother plays guitar, so I was at least aware of it. Because as a kid, you're only aware of what you see. Literally, some people, but there'd be so many more musicians in the world if at 6 years old. Kids had more choice rather than just being given a recorder, as many people are in the UK. But yeah, Marty McFly, Back to the Future was a huge inspiration as well. That's what made me go into my brother's room and steal his guitar and jump up and down on the sofa.
Nice.
Which was how I thought he played it, because that's what he did. I just love that. The first song I remember sounding like anything like a song at all was Sing by Travis. Because Travis, this is about the year 2000, Travis were like one of the biggest bands in the world, which they don't perhaps seem like it now, but they were bigger than Coldplay. You know what I mean?
Whoa now.
But yeah, they were, and that was one, I think it's like the E minor and you put your little finger somewhere, and that was just when I got my first steel string acoustic from Electro Music.
Nice.
That was one of the first things I learnt on that, and I realised it matched. But I know for a fact that my buddy who was in my first band with showed me that, because it had a capo, like 2nd fret or something, and I didn't even own a capo, so I could have only played it if he'd have showed me something.
Nice. So you said the friend that you were in your first band with, did you kind of just start learning songs and then springboard right into playing in bands?
Yeah. I had piano lessons from being about 9 years old, and my older brother, he was in a band as well playing guitar, but he used to make all his own backing tracks, and he showed me about all computer music and things. So that was my bag at the time. Guitar was something that I had, but I wasn't anywhere near on guitar what I was on piano or being able to make up kind of MIDI jam tracks and stuff. So in my first band, it was just mate from school, 11, 12, 13 years old. He was a singer and lead guitar player. He was the guy. So at one point he did just ask me to join. We jammed at school at some point, or I jammed around at his house. He showed me a couple of bits. But at some point he did ask me to join his band, and it was his band as well. It's called Matt Black. He has a podcast somewhere online.
Nice.
But yeah, he's he was very instrumental in actually getting me to be with other people and play. Without him, it might not have happened for a lot longer than that.
Cool. So you actually started out on piano then, it sounds like.
Yeah, but also keyboard. So we have an upright piano at the bottom of the stairs in my mum's house. So that was huge
Right.
because you couldn't. I'd always kind of walk past it and then just hit it and then go away.
Yeah.
And then at some point, someone shows you one thing,
Yeah.
and you just play that one thing every day. But it's a huge thing where my brother and sister had left home by the time I was starting to play it properly. So they're like 10 and 13 years older than me. So I was left to my own devices a bit more, and then when it's there, you play it more. Around the same time as I got the acoustic guitar, when I was about 13, I got a keyboard as well. And again, you just play, and then you have the time to play in your teenage years.
Were you ever the keyboard player for a band, or was it always guitar?
Basically, that's what my mate asked me to be in the band for, because he already played guitar. But so especially at like 14, nobody wants to be the keyboard player in the band, right?
Right.
So I was always like, oh yeah, I'll do that, and I play guitar too, so I can play guitar on some songs, right? And he was like, yeah, but also he was the one that said it's really cool to be able to make those other sounds that you can't make as just a guitar band. And that was actually huge in all the indie music from the noughties that I love. From the Killers to the Kaiser Chiefs, they're synthesizer as like an integral part to the song.
Absolutely.
And I wish I'd have embraced that a bit more when I was in that band. But all I actually wanted to do was rock out with an electric guitar.
I mean, you were 14. Like,
There was a period of about a month when I was playing keyboards for an orchestra. I don't know whose idea that. I think it was my mum's idea.
wow.
Because my sister was in orchestras and she got to travel to she went to Italy with the orchestra she was in. It made it more things happened from her being in the orchestra than just playing with her friends, which clearly wasn't going to happen probably with my band. But yeah, that's the cool thing about music as well. It leads to other good things happening other than you just getting good at your instrument.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Music takes you places in more than one way. And music took you to YouTube. How did that kind of get started? What was the thing that got you on that road?
Absolutely. So I was aware that guitar teaching was a job that you could perhaps do off your own back, even in like the 90s when I was learning guitar, because I'd see the ads in the paper. But they were more like after school classes or something. So when I finished university and you're just dropped into the world and you're expected to get a job and know what you're doing now because you graduated from university, I had no idea what to do. So I reverted back to that as one option. I did other things as well, but that was certainly one. Playing, being like a self-employed guitar teacher, I was like, that's one thing I want to give a go, because I just had an instinct for it, I think. And at the same time as that, I wanted to advertise that I did this. And rather than do lots of paid advertising or anything, I thought, let's make a video to show people what to expect in their first lesson. To do that, I just uploaded it to YouTube as if it was a free hosting website and then just embedded it on my website, right?
Right.
There was no inclination that would then be searched for or seen by anyone else other than someone in Leeds.
Yeah.
But at that same time, it has to be said, from searching what was out there on YouTube, there were already loads of fantastic guys. Mark Schwartz, for example, was already well established in doing his thing in 2009 and 2010. I think Justin Sandico had been doing it like 8 years or something by then or something.
Yeah.
I was straight out of uni and never even thought about. I was just maybe trying to teach from home,
Yeah.
So yeah, but that was when I became aware of that wider world, but still didn't really grasp that it could be something that, well, at that time it was all coming up for search terms, right? So I never thought I'd rank for any search terms. But yeah, gradually, after doing loads of other, like doing lights for O2 Academy venues, being in a wedding band, being a sound tech for various things, but still having, 5 to 10 one-to-one students a week, in like my early to mid 20s. I made a couple of videos that did start to get a lot of views just off their own back, and that's when the change happened, because I was like, okay, maybe this is something where I should make a YouTube video every week, or I should buy a better camera and that kind of thing.
Ah, right. That's awesome. Do you, before COVID anyway, were you still doing private lessons at all? Or did you kind of phase that out completely?
I phased it out, but it's really hard when you've got students, it's really hard to stop private teaching. One, because you want to help people, and two, like it's kind of awkward to tell people we're not going to do this anymore, especially when you talk for a long time. So it wasn't until I actually moved down to Brighton, where I live now, from Leeds, in 2017, that I fully put a full stop there. That was a bit of a fresh start. I still had about 5 private students by that time, just because it's good to keep your hand in as well. But now I just do like one-off events, that kind of thing. A little bit of Zoom teaching, but I don't do Zoom teaching as in, one-to-ones for a weekly fee. I'm trying to I'm using it as content for the website, frankly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything you miss in particular about doing kind of hands-on, one-on-one, in-person lessons?
They do become. It is a personal thing, because you miss that personal relationship you have with people, and it can be a bad thing sometimes, because you can end up being a little bit of a counselor, a little bit of a life coach as well, because they do sort of sit there and look to you for answers. And I'm like, I don't know, but this is just what I think.
Yeah, this guy knows how to play guitar really well. Maybe he knows how to fix my relationship problems too.
Well, but you're impartial, aren't you? And you are in like private quarters, so they share things with you, and you're like, okay, I didn't need to know that, but that's okay. Well, one thing I miss from the actual teaching point of view is certainly how seeing that instant result. I think I was very good at, especially in that first lesson, I was very good at judging where someone was at and how we might make the most of that first hour or that first half hour, and just getting them to do something that they couldn't before, and especially that thing where they never thought they'd be able to do that ever. There's just a look on people's faces, and often once you've got that, you're trying to keep them there, but they just you can see how people stop themselves sometimes, and I miss that, being able to just keep them there. Just being able to play along to a recording, for example. Some people can be playing 2, 3, 5 years and never play along to a recording, or never record themselves. And they think, I think my timing's not great. And it's like, yeah, you've never done the thing that is how you check that timing.
Do you have a favorite video that you've made? Yeah, whether it's because of the process in making it, the behind the scenes process, or just what the end result of it was.
I can't be it's the obvious answer, the one that's got the most views, but it was life-changing, because I made a video in the start of 2013 called Play 10 Songs with 2 Chords, and that is now, and became, but I believe still is, the most watched guitar lesson video on YouTube that's actually a lesson.
Wow.
So yeah, that's hard to beat. And the number one comment is that you couldn't hoover your rug.
There's always going to be haters.
Well, I didn't know at the time. It was filmed on a webcam. I had no idea at the time. That was meant to be seen by like 100 people ever that might want to have one-to-one lessons with me in Leeds.
Oh, dang. So that was one of the original advertisement videos you did.
That's all it was. I even say in that video, this is what to expect before your first lesson with me. Now, luckily, I didn't add any more to that.
Like
so
your
that the
phone
video
number.
kind of still worked, just
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
and people glance over that bit. And it's hilarious because I did think about lighting and the sound's on a separate microphone, so it sounds decent quality.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm sure that the fact it was filmed on a webcam and it's just me in my, you know, home studio / bedroom, I'm sure there's a charm to that, which meant it really worked. And, you know, going back, I've always thought, oh, I should have upgraded my gear sooner. You know, should have done more sooner. As everybody thinks, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
if I'd have gone back, if I'd go back to change it, I'm certain that it would ruin it. There's a charm to it, just as it was, and it's kind of like recordings. It's like they're a little time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the recordings from the 70s that annoy guitarists because they're a little bit out of tune because they were recorded on tape.
Yeah.
And we can't be in standard tuning to play along to them. But there's a magic to it because that's at exactly the right frequency that makes it electric, or just gives it its own quality. And you know, if you quantize everything, it ruins it. So yeah, that's my answer.
Is there anything about making videos on YouTube that you feel like people don't understand that you would like them to?
Well, there's always the side of things that's like, this doesn't all fall together. This is really hard, but also that's just any job. I mean, it is the one thing I embraced earlier than a lot of people with in the creative industries is that it is a job. And you're not just... I think a lot of musicians that want to have a career in music don't treat it like they would a job. They don't keep regular hours with it. They don't... they write when the feeling takes them, all of that. And that can work for so many of everyone's favourite players. But also, you're leaving a lot up to chance if you do that. So for me, no, I'm there's nothing. I think people get it, and I think I wish I could embrace a lot more of the vlogging thing, and I think people would like that. But I'm terrible at vlogging. Half the reason we mentioned I got a little vlogging camera now is to try and get a bit more of that in there.
Nice.
Because I don't know if you see these guys, they're pretty heavy, and they're expensive and fragile, and I'm clumsy, so I literally just like to leave them where they are and film my thing.
So what do you think? Well, we kind of already went over that. I was gonna ask, what do you think your proudest moment has been since you became a musician? And it sounds
that
like
is
it might
different,
have been
though.
It is okay.
No, it's certainly
All right, so
not, because otherwise I'll answer that with like, the proudest moment isn't just doing the thing that got you somewhere. But otherwise, that is too. It's too much looking back, and you could be excused for sitting on your laurels there. And I've really tried not to do that. Really tried to push things forward. But the best thing about all of this is being able to do things like go to NAMM and anyone know who I am. You know, being able to talk with people who are in your industry on a bit more of a level, and just cool experiences that happened. You know what I mean? That's the cool thing, and the day-to-day of it. In so many ways, this kind of feels the same as when I was studying, or when I was, first learning and trying to learn how to record through a computer. Because it's kind of the same process. You have to learn a thing, you record it, and then you mix it, and then you do that. And I always enjoyed that, and I thought after I'd stopped studying, that might stop. So yeah, that's a huge thing that I'm really pleased I've been able to retain in the job.
Then when you aren't doing all that stuff, when you're not studying, when you're not working, when you're not going to NAMM, which none of us did, unfortunately, sad day. What is it that you're doing? What are your hobbies outside of music, if any?
From being in Brighton, we got to play a little bit of beach volleyball. That was fun. I would say I'm a total casual player, but that's something that you might not expect. That's certainly one thing, other than just I really like certain things on Netflix and stuff. That's cool.
Sure. You said you were playing board games a lot now, right?
Loads of board games. Anything to not look at a screen, which is a wicked thing about playing guitar, but also I did like a band program thing for YouTube might be 18 months ago now. Yeah, 18 months ago. And I'm really pleased that we did that when we did it. But the biggest thing from the process of it was, wow, from the rehearsals, rehearsing at home, to rehearsals with the band, to actually doing the thing, to recording a load of songs and then teaching them. None of that involved me looking at a screen. The whole practice of it was just doing it, and including the recording of it was just doing it. And that's like, man, in my day, and in so many people's day to day, how often are we just looking at screens? So anything that kind of stops that is a really cool thing. But in the winter, it's certainly, a lot of guitar playing, a lot of recording, and board games and that kind of thing, basically. Getting outside when we can.
Yeah. All right, well, you heard it here first. When Andy Guitar isn't playing guitar, he is either beach volleyballing or playing Catan.
Both of them really badly. Seven. I have to give credit where credit's due. Seven Wonders has been a really good one. Ticket to Ride as well, but Seven Wonders is wicked. I'm no good at it. I lose to my girlfriend plenty, but it's a good game.
Nice. That's awesome. And to kind of end things, I would like you to give us all, since you're a guitar teacher, give us all some homework. And that homework is, what album should we all go listen to right now all the way through, from top to bottom? What
would I inflict on people? I have to just be honest and just say Permission to Land cannot be appreciated enough by The Darkness. Especially as an album, and especially as a time capsule for my favourite year, which was 2003. I must have turned 16. I think I turned 16 in 2003. Something, no, maybe 17 actually. And I just remember that being a really wicked summer, and that whole album encapsulated that summer. But it really holds up as just all killer, no filler.
Nice. Is that the album that has I Believe in a Thing Called Love?
That's the one.
That's the one. See, I'm guilty for only hearing that one single and not listening to the full album.
So many people do, but as soon as you put the first track on, you're like, oh, okay, there's other riffs to this. But I do remember listening to that album for the first time and just doing the same as everyone else, just skipping to that song like way too much, and then listening to it from there, but I'd skip the first three. And you just... As soon as you get into it, there's a lot to delve from it, especially for guitarists.
Absolutely.
And I have that style of playing. I have that Malcolm Young style, hammering the riff home style of playing. But, you can learn it from AC/DC, but a lot of that is from years gone by, whereas they were, again, one of the biggest bands in the world then. And for people my age, I think we connect with that. And... anyone else that's not giving it a shot, just listen to the album. It's like half an hour long.
Yeah, there you go. Permission to Land, The Darkness. Awesome. Andy, thank you so much for being here with us today. Really appreciate it. Thank you for giving us some insight into your mind, into whether dogs are better than cats, and, some things that are less important like that, the music. I hope we can have you back again some other time.
And I hope you still hear from me in a year's time when all the cat lovers out there have... had their revenge.
All right, thanks, Andy. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye.